The moment you stop waiting for someone else to fix your life is the moment your real life begins. How many of you have spent years pointing fingers at everything except the one thing that actually mattered? Raise your hand if you've ever blamed your circumstances, your family, your boss, the economy, or that person who cut you off in traffic for why your life isn't where you want it to be. Keep those hands up. Good. Now here's what I want you to understand. That hand you just raised holds more power than every excuse you've ever made combined. That hand belongs to the only person who can truly change your life, you. There's a man I know who spent 15 years of his life as a victim. 15 years blaming everyone and everything for his failures. His alcoholic father, his unsupportive wife, his demanding job, his lack of education. He had a story for every setback, a reason for every defeat. He was the star of his own tragedy, and he played that role perfect. One Tuesday morning, sitting in his car in the parking lot of a job he hated, making barely enough money to survive, he had what he later called his moment of awakening. Not because anything magical happened, not because the clouds parted and angels sang, but because he finally asked himself one simple question. What if I'm the problem? What if every failure, every disappointment, every closed door was not happening to him, but was happening because of him? What if his outer world was nothing more than a perfect reflection of his inner world? What if his circumstances were not his master, but his creation? That question changed everything. Not immediately, not overnight, but it planted a seed in the fertile soil of his consciousness that would eventually transform him from a victim into a victor, from a man who blamed into a man who became. Your mind is a garden. Right now, at this very moment, that garden is producing a harvest. Look around at your life, your relationships, your bank account, your health, your happiness. This is your harvest. This is what you've been growing. The question isn't whether you're a good gardener or a bad gardener. The question is, are you a conscious gardener or an unconscious one? Are you deliberately planting seeds of success, or are you letting weeds of negativity take over your mental soil? Most people are unconscious gardeners. They plant seeds of doubt and wonder why they harvest failure. They water their fears and wonder why anxiety blooms in their life. They fertilize their excuses and wonder why they keep getting the same results year after year. But consciousness changes everything. When you become aware that your thoughts are seeds, your emotions are the water, and your beliefs are the soil, you realize you have complete control over your harvest. The man in the parking lot understood this. He realized that for 15 years he had been planting seeds of blame, watering them with resentment, and creating soil conditions that could only produce one crop, failure. His outer world was not conspiring against him. It was simply reflecting back to him the contents of his inner world. So he made a decision. Not a wish, not a hope, a decision. He decided to become the conscious architect of his own destiny. He decided to take complete responsibility for every aspect of his life. Not because it was easy, not because it felt good, but because it was the only path to freedom. What story have you been telling yourself about why you can't succeed? What chapter of victimhood have you been rehearsing so perfectly that you could recite it in your sleep? Think about it. Right now, what's your favorite excuse? What's your go-to explanation for why your life isn't where you want it to be? Hold that thought. Feel how familiar it is. Notice how comfortable it makes you feel. That comfort is your prison. Personal responsibility isn't a burden. It's the master key to every door you want to open. When you accept complete responsibility for your life, you simultaneously accept complete power over your life. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start being a creator of circumstance. The moment you realize that you are not the effect of your world, but the cause of your world, you are not the victim of your story, but the author of your story. You are not at the mercy of your circumstances, but the architect of your circumstance. The man from the parking lot spent the next 3 years completely rebuilding his life, not by changing his circumstances first, but by changing his consciousness first. He started every day with 30 minutes of mental cultivation. He planted new seeds of possibility. He watered them with faith. He created soil conditions that could only produce success. The transformation was remarkable. Within 6 months, he received a promotion he had been passed over for 3 times. Within a year, his relationship with his wife was stronger than it had been in a decade. Within 2 years, he had doubled his income and lost 40 pounds. Within 3 years, he had started his own business and was earning more money than he had ever imagined possible. But here's what's important. Nothing external changed first. No one rescued him. No opportunity fell from the sky. No lottery ticket paid off. The change began in his consciousness and worked its way out into his circumstances. This is how transformation actually works. It's not about getting different results and then feeling different. It's about becoming different and then getting different results. It's not about changing your circumstances and then changing your thoughts. It's about changing your thoughts and then changing your circumstances. Success is not about what you acquire. Success is about who you become. Every truly successful person understands this fundamental truth. They don't chase results. They become the kind of person who naturally produces those results. Think of a farmer. A farmer doesn't chase the harvest. A farmer becomes the kind of person who naturally produces a harvest. He prepares the soil. He plants the seeds. He tends the crops. He trusts the process. The harvest is inevitable. Your life operates according to the same principles. You are both the farmer and the farm. Your consciousness is the soil. Your thoughts are the seeds. Your emotions are the water. Your beliefs are the fertilizer. Your actions are the cultivation. Your results are the harvest. Most people want to change their harvest without changing their farming. They want different results without different habits. They want transformation without discipline. They want success without sacrifice. This is impossible. If you want a different harvest, you must become a different farmer. If you want different results, you must develop different habits. If you want transformation, you must embrace discipline. If you want success, you must be willing to sacrifice who you are for who you need to become. The man from the parking lot learned this lesson. He realized that his 15 years of failure were not caused by bad luck or unfair circumstances. They were caused by bad farming. He had been planting seeds of negativity and expecting a harvest of success. So he changed his farming. Instead of starting each day by rehearsing his problems, he started each day by rehearsing his possibilities. Instead of focusing on what was wrong with his life, he focused on what could be right with his life. Instead of watering his fears, he watered his faith. Small changes in his daily mental cultivation produced enormous changes in his life circumstances. He discovered that success is not about making massive changes all at once. Success is about making small changes consistently over time. Every morning he spent 10 minutes visualizing his ideal life. Every evening he spent 10 minutes writing down 3 things he was grateful for. Every day he read something that expanded his consciousness. Every week he did something that challenged his comfort zone. These habits seemed insignificant at first, but over time they compounded into extraordinary results. His thoughts became more positive. His emotions became more stable. His actions became more focused. His results became more consistent. This is the power of daily mental discipline. Small, consistent actions in the right direction create momentum, and momentum, sustained over time, creates miracles. You have the same power. You have the same opportunity. You have the same choice. The only question is, will you use it? Right now, at this very moment, you can make the same decision that man made in the parking lot. You can decide to stop being a victim and start being a victor. You can decide to stop being the effect and start being the cause. You can decide to stop being unconscious and start being conscious. Your transformation begins with a single thought. I am responsible for my life, not partially responsible, not mostly responsible, completely responsible, for every result, for every circumstance, for every outcome. This thought may feel uncomfortable at first. Your ego may resist it. Your old patterns may fight it. But this discomfort is not a sign that you're wrong. It's a sign that you're growing. When you accept complete responsibility for your life, you simultaneously accept complete power over your life. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being a creator of your circumstances. You stop being at the mercy of your past and start being the architect of your future. This is the Great Awakening. The moment you realize that every limitation you've accepted, every excuse you've made, every failure you've experienced was not imposed upon you by some external force. It was created by you through your consciousness, through your choices, through your daily mental habit. And if you created it, you can change it. If you built it, you can rebuild it. If you wrote the story, you can rewrite the story. The question is no longer whether you have the power to change your life, The question is whether you have the courage to use that power, whether you have the discipline to cultivate new mental habits, whether you have the faith to plant new seeds and trust the process. Your life is waiting for you to wake up. Your potential is waiting for you to claim it. Your future is waiting for you to create. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to fix your life is the moment your real life begins. But awakening is only the beginning. Once you understand that you are the creator of your circumstances, you must learn to work with the fundamental laws that govern all creation. You must understand the patterns and cycles that determine when to plant, when to water, when to harvest, and when to rest. Once you understand that life operates according to divine laws, you can work with these laws instead of against them. How many of you have noticed that your biggest breakthroughs often come right after your biggest breakdowns? Raise your hand if you've ever had a crisis that forced you to grow in ways you never thought possible. Keep those hands up. You've just witnessed one of the most powerful laws governing human existence, the law of rhythm. Everything in your life flows in and out, rises and falls, expands and contracts. Your challenges are not random punishments. They are perfectly timed invitations to evolve. Most people fight this rhythm. They resist the natural flow of life and wonder why they feel exhausted all the time. They want permanent summer without winter, constant growth without rest, endless expansion without contraction. This resistance creates suffering. But wise people learn to dance with the rhythm. They understand that winter is not the enemy of spring. It's the preparation for spring. They know that every setback is a setup for a comeback. They trust that every ending is really a beginning in disguise. The man from the parking lot learned this lesson the hard way. During his second year of transformation, everything seemed to fall apart. His business hit a rough patch. His wife got sick. His father passed away. For 3 months, it felt like the universe was testing everything he had learned about personal responsibility and consciousness. His old self would have crumbled. His old self would have said, "See, I told you this positive thinking stuff doesn't work. Life is just hard, and there's nothing you can do about it." But his new self recognized what was actually happening. The universe wasn't punishing him. It was strengthening him. Every challenge was an opportunity to prove to himself that his transformation was real. Every setback was a chance to practice his new mental habits under pressure. Every crisis was a curriculum designed to teach him something he couldn't learn any other way. He passed the test, not because he avoided the pain, but because he used the pain as fuel for growth. He emerged from those 3 months stronger, wiser and more confident than ever before. He had learned to work with life's natural rhythms instead of against them. This is the difference between those who succeed and those who struggle. Successful people understand that life moves in cycles. They prepare for winter during summer. They plant seeds during spring. They harvest during autumn. They rest during winter. They flow with the natural rhythm of existence. Struggling people fight the cycles. They're surprised by winter even though it comes every year. They're unprepared for challenges even though challenges are part of life. They resist change even though change is the only constant. They exhaust themselves swimming against the current instead of learning to swim with it. Are you fighting the current or learning to swim with it? Are you resisting your current season or making the most of it? Are you wasting energy complaining about the rhythm or using that energy to dance with it? The seasons of your life are not happening to you. They are happening for you. Your winter seasons are not punishment. They are preparation. Your spring seasons are not accidents. They are appointments. Your summer seasons are not luck. They are rewards for your faithful cultivation. But here's what most people don't understand. You can influence the length and intensity of your seasons through your consciousness. You can shorten your winters and extend your summers. You can make your springs more productive and your autumns more abundant. How? By understanding the second law that governs all success, the law of cause and effect. Every effect in your life has a cause. Every result has a reason. Every outcome has an origin. Change the cause, and you change the effect. Change the reason, and you change the result. Change the origin, and you change the outcome. Most people focus on effects while ignoring causes. They want better results without better habits. They want different outcomes without different actions. They want transformation without discipline. This is impossible. The man from the parking lot spent 15 years focused on effects. He complained about his low income, without improving his skill. He resented his poor health without changing his habits. He blamed his failed relationships without examining his character. He was trying to change his harvest without changing his farming. But consciousness changes everything. When you start focusing on causes instead of effects, you gain power over your results. When you start working on your character instead of your circumstances, you gain control over your destiny. This brings us to the third law, the law of attraction. Not the superficial version you've heard about, but the real law that governs all creation. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you vibrate. Your dominant thoughts and emotions create an invisible magnetic field around you. This field attracts people, opportunities, and circumstances that match your inner state. If you're vibrating fear, you attract fearful situations. If you're vibrating abundance, you attract abundant opportunities. If you're vibrating love, you attract loving relationships. This is why two people can have the same opportunities, but get completely different results. It's not because one person is luckier than the other. It's because they're vibrating at different frequencies. They're operating from different states of consciousness. The successful person vibrates confidence, so they attract confident opportunities. The struggling person vibrates doubt, so they attract doubtful situations. The wealthy person vibrates abundance, so they attract abundant circumstance. The poor person vibrates scarcity, so they attract scarce conditions. But here's the problem. Most people are unconscious of their vibration. They think they're vibrating success while actually vibrating failure. They think they're vibrating confidence while actually vibrating fear. They think they're vibrating love while actually vibrating resentment. They sabotage themselves without even knowing it. They plant seeds of success with their conscious mind while watering them with poison from their subconscious mind. They affirm abundance while believing in scarcity. They visualize victory while expecting defeat. This is why so many people fail despite having good intentions. They're working against themselves. They're sending mixed signals to the universe. They're trying to go north and south at the same time. They're pressing the accelerator and the brake simultaneously. Self-sabotage is the silent killer of dreams. It's the invisible force that stops people just before they break through. It's the in your head that says, "Who are you to want more? Who are you to dream bigger? Who are you to think you're special?" How many of you have ever been on the verge of a breakthrough and then found a way to mess it up? How many of you have ever been offered an opportunity and then talked yourself out of it? How many of you have ever been making progress and then found an excuse to quit? This is self-sabotage in action, and it happens because part of you is still identified with your old self. Part of you is still comfortable with your old limitation. Part of you is still afraid of what success might cost you. Your ego is terrified of change. It would rather keep you safe and small than let you become great and risk failure. It would rather keep you comfortable and mediocre than let you become extraordinary and risk criticism. It would rather keep you predictable and poor than let you become unpredictable and prosperous. So it creates excuses. It manufactures reasons to quit. It finds problems where none exist. It turns molehills into mountains. It makes you focus on everything that could go wrong instead of everything that could go right. The self-sabotage sounds like this. You don't have enough experience. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough connections. You don't have enough time. You're too old. You're too young. You're not smart enough. You're not talented enough. You're not lucky enough. But the of success sounds different. You have everything you need to start. You can learn what you don't know. You can earn what you don't have. You can build what doesn't exist. You can create what you can conceive. You can become what you can believe. Which are you listening to? Which are you feeding? Which are you strengthening with your attention? The difference between successful people and struggling people is not talent, luck, or circumstances. It's consciousness. Successful people have trained their minds to focus on possibilities. Struggling people have trained their minds to focus on problems. Successful people see obstacles as opportunities. Struggling people see opportunities as obstacles. Successful people ask, "How can I make this work?" Struggling people ask, "Why won't this work?" Successful people say, "I'll find a way." Struggling people say, "There's no way." This is not positive thinking. This is practical thinking. This is not wishful thinking. This is powerful thinking. This is not fantasy. This is the fundamental difference between those who succeed and those who struggle. The man from the parking lot had to rewire his entire thinking system. For 15 years he had been running mental software designed for failure. His default programming was to look for problems, expect the worst, and prepare for disappointment. This programming was so automatic that he didn't even realize he was doing it. But consciousness changes everything. He started paying attention to his thoughts. He started catching himself when he defaulted to negative thinking. He started interrupting his old patterns and installing new ones. He started asking better questions and getting better answers. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" he started asking, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of asking, "Why don't I have what I want?" he started asking, "What do I need to become to attract what I want?" Instead of asking, "Why is life so hard?" he started asking, "How can I become stronger?" Better questions led to better answers. Better answers led to better decisions. Better decisions led to better results. Better results led to better confidence. Better confidence led to even better questions. And the cycle continued upward. This is how you build spiritual immunity. You strengthen your mind against negative influences. You build resistance to toxic thoughts. You develop antibodies against failure consciousness. You create a protective shield around your dreams. Spiritual immunity is not about avoiding challenges. It's about facing challenges with strength. It's not about preventing problems. It's about solving problems with wisdom. It's not about eliminating obstacles. It's about overcoming obstacles with grace. The fourth law is the law of persistence. Nothing in nature achieves its full potential without persistent effort. The oak tree doesn't become mighty overnight. The river doesn't carve through rock in a single day. The mountain doesn't reach toward the sky without centuries of upward pressure. Your transformation follows the same principle. Success is not a single event. It's a series of small victories sustained over time. It's not about making one big change. It's about making small changes consistently until they become your new nature. Most people quit too early. They plant seeds on Monday and expect fruit on Friday. They start exercising and expect to be fit in a week. They begin a business and expect to be profitable in a month. They practice a skill and expect to be expert in a year. But mastery takes time. Excellence takes patience. Success takes persistence. The greatest achievements in human history were accomplished not by the most talented people, but by the most persistent people. They stayed committed when others gave up. They kept going when others stopped. They persisted when others quit. The man from the parking lot understood this. He committed to his transformation for the long term. He didn't expect overnight results. He didn't get discouraged by slow progress. He trusted the process and stayed consistent with his daily practices. Some days were harder than others. Some days he didn't feel like doing his mental exercise. Some days he wanted to go back to his old ways. But he had learned that consistency matters more than intensity. He had learned that small actions, sustained over time, create miraculous results. This is the secret that separates those who succeed from those who struggle. Successful people do what unsuccessful people won't do. They persist when others quit. They continue when others stop. They maintain when others abandon. They endure when others escape. Your current results are not your permanent reality. They are simply feedback about your current habits. Change your habits and you change your results. Change your patterns and you change your outcomes. Change your consistency and you change your destiny. The fifth law is the law of compensation. You will always be compensated for your contribution. The universe keeps perfect books. Every seed you plant will produce a harvest. Every effort you make will yield a reward. Every value you create will return to you multiplied. But the compensation may not come in the form you expect or at the time you expect. The universe doesn't work according to your timeline. It works according to divine timing. Your job is not to control the when or how of your compensation. Your job is to focus on the what and why of your contribution. The man from the parking lot learned this lesson. He started focusing on becoming more valuable instead of demanding more value. He started contributing more instead of expecting more. He started giving more instead of taking more, and the universe responded with abundance beyond his imagination. This is how the laws work. They are not suggestions. They are not theories. They are universal principles that govern all creation. You can work with them or against them, but you cannot escape them. You can cooperate with them or resist them, but you cannot change them. The question is not whether these laws exist. The question is whether you will use them consciously or unconsciously, whether you will work with them or against them, whether you will flow with them or fight them. Understanding these laws gives you power over your circumstances. It transforms you from a victim of life into a master of life. It changes you from someone who reacts to someone who creates. It elevates you from someone who struggles to someone who succeeds. But understanding is not enough. Knowledge without application is merely entertainment. The magic happens in the daily practice. The transformation occurs through consistent action. The miracle emerges through disciplined implementation. What if the miracle you're waiting for isn't out there, but inside the small, consistent choices you make every single day? Not dramatic changes, not overnight success, just quiet, disciplined action, repeated so often that the ordinary becomes extraordinary without warning. Too many people are waiting for a breakthrough, but few are building the habits that lead to it. Miracles don't happen in chaos. They are born from structure, from discipline, from patterns of excellence that are honored even when no one's watching. If you want a life that feels aligned, powerful, unstoppable, it starts by mastering the things you do daily, not once in a while, not when you feel inspired. Every single day, ask yourself, what are you repeating that's creating your current result? Because life is not built in the big moments. It's shaped in the mundane, the overlooked, the uncelebrated. While the world praises talent, it is discipline that separates the ones who talk from the ones who rise. It starts the moment you open your eyes. That first breath, that first thought, that first choice. Do you hit snooze or do you move? Do you delay or do you decide? Because the second you allow yourself to negotiate with your goals, you give permission to every excuse that follows. And once excuses take root, they multiply. High-level achievers don't wait to be in the mood. They condition themselves to act despite it. Their standards are not dictated by feelings. They're driven by purpose, and that purpose is fed by discipline. Discipline doesn't silence your feelings, but it makes sure they don't control your future. The daily revolution begins with owning your time. Every minute matters. Every hour builds momentum or steals it. It's not about cramming your day with meaningless hustle. It's about moving with precision. The ones who rise consistently don't do more. They do what matters, better and with consistency. They protect their focus like it's sacred, because it is. Most people are drowning in distraction, starving for direction. But direction doesn't come from the outside. It comes from the inside. From systems, routines, patterns that keep your compass pointed toward the life you say you want. That life doesn't appear randomly. It shows up in the repetition of choices that feel small in the moment but massive over time. Discipline isn't sexy. It's not glamorous, but it's the most powerful form of self-respect you can practice. Waking up early, drinking water before caffeine, saying no when it's easier to say yes. These aren't restrictions. They're declarations. They say, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and I will not be moved by anything less. Ask yourself this: if someone followed you around for a week and copied your exact routine, what kind of life would they end up with? That answer tells you everything. Your future is hiding in your habits, not your hopes, not your plans, your habit. People keep asking how to find their passion. But passion is not something you wait to feel. It's something you build by showing up repeatedly for something meaningful, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when you don't see immediate results. Passion grows from consistency, not convenience. Miracles happen when discipline meets purpose, when what you do lines up with what you believe in. And it won't feel magical at first. It'll feel hard, inconvenient, uncomfortable. But if you stay with it, if you keep showing up, something shifts. Not around you, within you. You stop needing motivation, because momentum takes over. You stop craving validation, because self-respect grows louder than praise. You stop quitting, because you've trained your mind to finish what you start. This is how miracles are created. Not by force but by faith expressed through action. The difference between those who move and those who stay stuck isn't opportunity. It's discipline. The ability to say no to comfort. The willingness to keep going when the excitement fades. The decision to keep showing up when results are invisible. That's where power lives, in the silence, in the unseen hours, in the repetition. If you keep breaking promises to yourself, your confidence will shrink. But every time you do what you said you would do, even when it's inconvenient, your identity begins to change. You start believing in your own again. You become your own proof. You don't need a massive plan. You need a simple set of actions that you execute with relentless consistency. Wake up on time. Move your body. Feed your mind. Show up early. Finish what you start. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things without fail. That's how the extraordinary begins. One small act of discipline at a time. One choice that leads to the next. One habit that replaces another. And it's not instant, but it's inevitable if you refuse to stop. Those who rise don't just have a goal. They have a code, a way of living that's immune to excuses. They don't wait to feel right. They act because it's right, and that action reshapes them from the inside out. Eventually it becomes automatic, not because it got easier, but because they got stronger. It's easy to start. Everyone starts, but very few finish. Not because they weren't capable, but because they didn't commit to the discipline required. Talent without discipline is wasted potential. Dreams without habits are hallucinations. If you want the dream, you better respect the discipline. The body you want, the mindset you crave, the income you talk about, they all live behind routines, rituals, and systems that are boring to most, but sacred to the few. Those few aren't better than anyone else. They're just more committed. They don't get distracted by every shiny thing. They know who they are. They know what matters, and they build their day around it. It's not about being obsessed. It's about being aligned. When your actions reflect your values, everything starts to feel different. You stop looking for shortcuts. You start trusting the process. You stop needing external motivation. You start building something real. If you really want to change your life, don't start with goals. Start with your calendar. Show me your schedule, and I'll show you your future. Where your time goes, your life follows. Where your focus goes, results grow. Discipline is just the habit of putting first things first, consistently. It's also about subtraction, not just addition. What do you need to eliminate to make room for discipline? What distractions must die so that your potential can live? You can't build something powerful if you're surrounded by habits that weaken you. Discipline requires boundaries. It requires saying no without apology. No to gossip. No to laziness. No to compromise. Because every yes to something weak is a no to your greatness. Every time you lower your standard to please others, you betray your own future. Start tracking your patterns, not just what you do, but when you stop. Where do you usually quit? When do you slip back into comfort? Identify it. Replace it. Interrupt the pattern before it interrupts your momentum. That's how you create a revolution, by mastering your rhythm. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be relentless. Progress isn't about never missing. It's about never quitting. One bad day doesn't ruin your process. One mistake doesn't cancel your progress. But giving up on your disciplines, that will bury you fast. True confidence comes from evidence. Show up enough times, and the doubt starts to fade. Do the hard things enough, and your identity changes. You're no longer someone who tries. You're someone who does. That switch is where everything shifts. Eventually, discipline becomes your default. And when that happens, you stop chasing miracles, because you realize you're creating them through action, through alignment, through consistency. Not because of luck, but because of choice. The miracle is not a moment. It's a lifestyle. It's the day you wake up and realize you're not the same person you used to be. Not because something happened to you, but because of what you've been doing day after day after day. That's how real change works. That's how a revolution begins. Quietly, consistently, and powerfully from within. Let me know when you're ready for the next continuation. I'll continue exactly from this point forward, keeping the flow seamless.